So I'm going to start for real. And the polite thing my mother taught me to do when you meet new people, of course, is introduce yourself. And I still do some of the things my mother taught me. In fact, she says I do more of them now than when she was trying to teach me. This is one of them. My name is Davis Bates. I am a singer, I am a storyteller. I'm going to do both, but my mother taught me that introductions are a two-way street, and the only people I know the names of in the room are Mark and Margaret. So to save some time, on the count of 3, nice and loud, because my daughter says I'm getting hard of hearing.
What?
Yeah, that's exactly what I say to her when she says that. What? And so I've decided, she says it, she started saying it about 2 years ago, and she's saying it a little more now, and I figure when I can't hear her say it anymore, I'll get a hearing aid. It might work that way. But on the count of 3, nice and loud, so I know who everybody is, it'll save some time. Just say your name. Ready, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Madeline.
Nice to meet you. Now, I may not remember all those names. That's a lot to learn at once. If you have to remind me later, don't take it personally. But now that we know each other, I can give you some stories, give you some songs. Everything I give you, I'm not going to take them back. You get to keep them and give them to somebody else. When I was a kid, I collected baseball cards. And I love baseball. And now I collect stories and songs. And the cool thing about songs and stories is I can give them away and I still have them. Couldn't do that with baseball cards. And this program is called a Celtic Celebration. Oh, by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. And it's called a Celtic Celebration. Well, first, I need to check something. Just raise your hand if you have some Irish heritage somewhere in your, every audience is more than 50%. It's amazing. It must be the time of year. I have to admit, I do not. Raise your hand if you have Scottish. Yeah, me too. That's why I feel I can sort of do this program honorably. And I do have some connections to St. Patrick's Day. One of them is I'm wearing on my feet. My socks. My mom knit these socks for me out of yarn she got from Ireland. Yeah, which is kind of cool. I actually wear other socks. This is too much information. Wear other socks here because I'm trying to preserve these so much and then change my socks for a performance. You never think you'd do that. The other connection I have to St. Patrick's Day is St. Patrick's Day was my due date. I was supposed to be born on do you think how cool that would be? To have a birthday on St. Patrick's Day. However, I started a trend very early by being late. It was not the last time I was ever late, but it was the first time I was ever late. And St. Patrick's Day came and went in 1955, and I wasn't born. And it was the day after St. Patrick's Day, and I still was not born. Then it was the 20th, and then it was the 24th, and then it was the 28th, then it was the 31st, then it was April Fool's Day, and my mom said to me, still inside, "This is the April Fool's joke, huh? You're going to wait to get born, right?" And then it was April 2nd, and it was my grandfather's birthday, my mom's dad. So she called him to wish him a happy birthday, and after doing that, she said, "Can I talk to Mom?" See, I was going to be her first child. Also the first grandchild on both sides of the family. And sometimes when you're having your first child, and you got a problem, you got to talk to Mom. So she said, "Mom, he's still on the inside. I want him on the outside. Anything I can do, I can move this along." And there was a silence on the phone for just a little bit. And then her mom said, "Go bowling." What? Go bowling. You like those big balls, right? You're on a team. My mom was actually on a bowling team. She actually had her very own bowling ball in one of those satchels they make that are just big enough to hold a bowling ball. And so she said, "Oh, yeah, sure, I'll go bowling." And the next day, she and my dad went bowling. They did 2 strings, and then they went home. And that night, she went into labor. And I was born the next day, on April 4th, 1955. And I've heard of this working with 2 other people who were overdue and decided to go bowling. So if you know anybody who's overdue, you can suggest that they go bowling. It might work. Also, there's a pizza place in Newton Center that has a reputation. If you go there and have some pizza, if you don't like bowling, it's a long trip from here, but still, there's a reputation. If you go there and order pizza and you're overdue, you'll go into labor the next day. Now, as I said, I love collecting stories, and I've been collecting songs and stories from Ireland and Scotland for years. This song actually originally came from a story in Ireland. The story traveled, maybe as a song, I don't know. I've been trying to research it, but all I found is different versions of it. They don't say how it got from one place to another. And then it went to Yorkshire, England, and like a lot of folks of Celtic heritage, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, it came over to Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. And then down into Maine, where it got collected. It's also a good song to start with before I tell the story version of the song, because it's got a very easy to learn chorus. We're all going to sing this together. Now, you may have been told by someone, like my mom was, that you can't sing. They were lying. It's not true. Everybody can sing, especially in a group like this, and especially in a song like this, because this is a folk song. There's no such thing as a wrong note. This is the chorus. It's very easy to learn. It's short. It goes like this. Fal de lal day. That's it. It makes no sense, but it's short. So we can all sing it together on the count of three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Fal de lal day. You got it. And you'll know when it's coming because the last 2 words of every verse where the story is and sing. So it won't take you by surprise. You'll know exactly what to do and when. All right? So here's the story. There was a rich farmer in Yorkshire did dwell, a Jack for a servant, and that you know well. The cows being gathered, he had one to spare. He said, Johnny, me boy, you must go to the fair and sing. Fal de lal day. Well, in through the glare and out through the glen, Jack led the cow with a rope in his hand. And on his way there he came to 3 men, and he sold them the cow for 16 pounds 10 and sing. Fal de lal day. Came to an old woman, to her he did say, where shall I put all this money away? Into your coat lining, to him she did say, in case on the road some robber may be and sing. Fal de lal day. Well, on his way home he came to a dark lane. Out jumped a robber, I'll tell you in plain. Deliver your money without any strife, or with this flat sword I'll take your sweet life and sing. Fal de lal day. Well, he ripped open the lining, the money fell out. All in the tall grass it lay scattered about. And while the robber was picking it up in his purse, Jack made no delay, but jumped on the robber's horse and sing. Fal de lal day. Well, the robber he called out, he bade Jack to stay. Jack made no answer, just rode on his way. Straight home to his master's own house he did go, with a bridle and saddle instead of a cow and sing. Fal de lal day. Well, the farmer came out all in a great fuss. He said, Johnny, me boy, me cow's turned into a horse. Oh, master, your cow I've sold, but I have been robbed of your silver and gold and sing. Fal de lal day. Well, they looked in the saddle, and lo and behold, 5,000 pounds of silver and gold. Besides 2 brass pistols, and the farmer did vow, he said, Johnny, me boy, you've well sold me cow and sing. Fal de lal day. And now for your brave and honorable day, half of this money will come to your pay. Besides, if she'll have you, my daughter, for a wife, and you shall live well all the days of your life and sing. Fal de lal day. That's the well-sold cow. Thanks for singing. That was good singing. Thanks. Yeah, it's another name for that song that I've seen is Jack the Cowboy. Not like cowboys out west, but like boys who follow cows around in Scotland and Ireland with a little stick to make them move, gently, of course. And I'm pretty sure this spoken version of the story came first. Pretty sure. Pretty sure. I actually heard it first before I learned that song off of a record. A wonderful teller named Maggie Pearce grew up outside of Dublin and then emigrated to this country in, I think in the early 60s. And lived down in the Fairhaven area. And I actually was at a senior center in Billerica just the other day where there was a woman in the audience who used to run a coffee house with Maggie and remembered her. It was fun talking to her about Maggie. We both enjoyed her a lot. And I heard Maggie tell this at the 5 College Folk Festival at Mount Holyoke College in a dorm. I went to Hampshire College, and this dorm had a living room as big as this room. Our dorms at Hampshire didn't have that kind of a thing. And it had a fireplace, it had these big cushy sofas and chairs and tea tables, and then there were 5 chairs up by the fireplace, and one had Maggie in it, and then there were 2 Clancy brothers sitting in between her and the other 2 folks who were another women's Irish band. And they told stories, and it was like being in a living room in Ireland. They were just joshing each other and said, no, that's not how it goes. And they'd say another version of the story. And Maggie told this story, and it stuck in my head. And it starts, Maggie started by saying, there once was a wee fella. He was a wee fella, my lad. I don't know his name, she said. So I just call him the wee fella because he was a wee fella. He was the weeest fella in his whole family, which had a lot of fellas. And there were so many fellas, that even though there was a lot of food, when you divided up amongst all of them, there wasn't as much food as each one would like. And the wee fellow was not as growing as much as his parents would like him to be. So they said to him one day, you know, you should go down the road a ways. Work for the farmer down the road. He and his wife, they don't have any children. I bet they'd like having you around. You're a nice guy. You work well, and you'd help them out on the farm. They'd feed you much better than we can. And he looked at him and said, that's a good idea. I'll go tomorrow. And he did. The next day, he just walked down the ways and went up to their farm and knocked on the door and said, my parents asked me to ask you, could I live with you and work for you and you could feed me? And they said, that's a good idea. Come on inside. And he liked living with them. They fed him quite well. And they liked him living with them. He worked very well. And sometimes they'd sit around after supper, you know, when you don't want to wash the dishes. And you're just sitting there seeing who's going to be the first one to get up. And they start telling stories, and after one of the stories, the farmer said to his wife, he said, you know, that man in town still owes me 10 gold pieces. I'd like to go get him. You know, there are things I could buy with 10 gold pieces, another team of horses, another carriage, get you some nice dresses and stuff, but the problem is, if I go to town and get that money, I'll have to come back through the woods. And there's a highwayman who lives in the woods. And he'll take the money away from me. And then I won't have it anymore. I mean, I don't have it now, but at least the man in town does, and I can pretend that I'm going to have it someday, and if the highwayman takes it away, I won't be able to pretend anymore. And the wee fella, he looked up at the farmer and said, I could get that money for you. What, you get the money? Oh, sure. Aren't you afraid of the highwayman? Oh, I'm not afraid of a highwayman. I'm just a wee fella. He won't think I have any money. Wee fellas, we don't have any money. He won't bother me at all. I'll go tomorrow. You sure? Oh, yeah, I'll hide the money in my jacket. He'll just let me go by. All right, if you say so. And the next day, the wee fellow went. He had a nice breakfast. He started off walking. It was one of those days, we've had a few of them lately, you know, where the day is so nice that as you're walking, you start whistling without intending to. And you discover you're whistling after you start. That happened to him. He just started whistling a nice tune. And said, oh, that's a great tune. He kept whistling, and he was in the trees, into the woods, and halfway through the woods to town, when out of the trees came a very big man on a big gray horse. He was dressed all in red. He had a red jacket, red pants, a white ruffled shirt, a red hat with a white feather on the top. Oh, he was a fine-looking man with a sword on one side, a pistol on the other. And he looked down at the wee fella, and he said, hey, wee fella, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to town. Oh, you are? What you going to do there? Oh, there's a man in town who owes the farmer I live with 10 gold pieces. Oh, he does he? Are you going to go get him? I'm going to go get him, and I'm going to bring him back to the farmer I work for. Oh, haven't you heard about the highwayman who lives in these woods? Oh, I've heard about him, but I'm not afraid of him at all. You're not, are you? No, I'm just a wee fella. He won't think I have any money. He'll just ignore me. I'll go right by and I'll bring the money back. You're a right brave lad. You know, I'm very impressed with you. I tell you what, I'm so impressed with you that I'm going to meet you on your way home, and I'll help you take care of that money. You will? I certainly will. Oh, you're a nice man. Some people think so. I'll see you on your way back. Oh, you will? Bye. And off the boy went. And he went to town, and he found the man who owed the farmer the money. He got the 10 gold pieces, and he was pouring them back and forth from one hand to the other way you can with money, you know. And the gold pieces were right small. It doesn't much gold to make a nice gold piece. And they were a pretty color, going back and forth. And they made a nice sound, jingling against each other from one hand to the other. But he stopped, and he looked up at the man and said, you know, it's very nice, but it's only one sound. It's only one color. I'll tell you what, I shifted the coins to one hand. He picked one of them up. He held it out to the man who gave him the money. He said, could you give me 20 silver pieces for this gold piece? Why? Well, then I'll have 2 colors and 2 sounds. You're a strange lad. But he took the money and he went and put it away and he got 20 silver pieces. He gave it to the wee fella and now he's pouring them back from hand to hand. The 9 gold pieces and the 20 silver pieces, they're mixing together, the 2 colors, the 2 sounds. And he says, oh, that's much, much better. But you know, it's only 2 colors. It's only 2 sounds. I tell you what, he shifted just enough, big enough hand to hold them all. He held up 1 silver piece out to the man and said, could you give me a big bag of copper pennies for this silver piece? Why? It'll be 3 colors. Oh, you're the strangest lad I ever saw. And he went and took the silver piece, put it away, got a big bag of copper pennies, and the wee fella, he put the coins, the gold and the silver, into the inside pocket of his jacket. And then he took that big bag of copper pennies, and he threw it over his shoulder, said goodbye to the man, and he walked out of town, whistling again a new tune. He'd found one in his head, and he was going through the woods. Halfway through the woods, out of the trees came that same man. On the same big gray horse, wearing the same red jacket and the red pants, the ruffled shirt and the red hat and the feather, and the pistol was by one side, but now he had the sword in his hand and he was wearing a mask over the lower half of his face. And he looked down at the wee fella and he held out the sword, pointed at him and said, you know, I'm a man of me word. I told you, I promised you I'd help you take care of that money, and I will, but if I'm going to take care of that money, you have to give it to me. I'll give you the money. The wee fellow looked up at the man and said, you're the highwayman. Oh, you're a right smart lad, you are. Yes, I am a highwayman, and give me the money. No, I'm not going to give it to you. You're not. No, if you want this money, you're going to have to work for it. And the wee fella, he took that bag of pennies, and he took it off his shoulder, and he threw it as hard as he could into the trees, and it disappeared into the forest. It landed. You could hear it land, you know, and the coins scatter. And then the highwayman looked down at him and said, never let it be said that I am too proud to work for my money. And he got off the horse. And he went into the trees, disappeared into the woods. As soon as he was out of sight, the wee fella, he jumped up on the man's horse, and he gave it a kick with both feet, held onto the reins. That horse just took off. And no time at all, it was clattering down the road, and the highwayman heard it and came out and saw the boy disappear. In the distance, he took his pistol and he fired, but by then the boy was gone. And in no time at all, he was clattering along the lane to the farmer's place and then into the yard, and the farmer came out. The wee fella jumped down, held onto the reins. The farmer said, where'd this horse come from? I sent you for some coins, not a horse. What's with the horse? And the wee fella, he told him the story. He said, look, I got most of your money except for 1 silver piece, but the rest of it's right here. And he told about the highwayman, and, you know, they looked in the saddlebags. And in those saddlebags, there were 300 gold pieces and 250 silver pieces, several ruby rings, an emerald necklace, and a whole bunch of other jewelry. And the man looked at the wee fella and said, you know, that's a right bit good of work for a day. I tell you what, I'm so impressed. You should have half this money. Rightfully, you should have half the money. And he gave it to the wee fella in another sack. And the wee fella, he said, thank you. And he walked home. Because now with all that money, there was enough money to feed all the fellas in the family, including the wee fella, my lad. And that's a story from Ireland. There was a woman from Tipperary in Blackstone the other day who came up to me afterwards, and she said, you know, the thing I like about a lot of the stories from my childhood in Ireland is there was always some wee fella or gal who was getting the better of somebody bigger than them. And it is true of a lot of those stories. Now this song, next song I sing, it didn't come from Ireland, but it has its roots with Irish folk who did come from Ireland. My dad used to sing it as a bedtime song when I was growing up. My bedtime was 7:30 until I was in 3rd grade. That's when I was supposed to be in bed, you know, teeth brushed, bath every night, pajamas. And then my mom and dad would read to us for half an hour, the lights would go out, and my mom or dad would sing to us for half an hour. I loved this song the first 1,000 times I heard it. The next 1,000 it was okay. And then, you know, I got kind of tired of it. I grew up, I hardly ever sang it at all because I was looking for new songs, and then I learned how to play these. Ah, you're there. Any of you have these at home? You sure? Okay, I'm going to give you a short lesson on how to play music with spoons. One of the things to remember about playing music with spoons is if anybody in the room has a headache, it's a really good idea to go to another room. The other thing is you use flat handle spoons. The round handle ones are very pretty, but they don't work for this at all. You put one spoon between your thumb and your first finger like this. The next spoon goes between your first and second finger like that. You see how they form a long V? You tuck the point of that V into the palm of your hand and then close your fist around it. Now every hand is different, every spoon is different. You may have to shift them around a little bit, but you basically hold them about that far apart. And then you need your knee for this. You may have wondered why I brought this stool, since it's just been hanging out over here and I haven't been sitting on it. I will later, but for now, I just need access to my knee. It's just getting a little harder than it used to be. And then you tap the spoons on your knee like this. Or your hand. You get different sounds depending on what part of your body you tap them on. You put your hand up above your knee, go back and forth. Run them across your fingers like this. Sort of the Lone Ranger effect, which kind of dates me a little bit. Then you can combine the different movements and sounds. Thank you. And you can play music with spoons. And different spoons have different sounds. I get excited about weird things. This is one of them. These spoons are plastic, but they're made out of corn oil, so they're compostable. In a really big compost pile, the institutional ones that are like 16 feet high, and they turn them around over with bucket loaders. Mine at home that I turn with a pitchfork, it doesn't get hot enough. These kind of half melt, they become twisted spoons, which is a good name for a rock group. But because they're made out of corn oil, they have a different sound. I'm going to move the microphone down to them because they're kind of shy. Stay. Yeah, just a pair of plastic spoons. Now, and they don't last as long as metal spoons. Like some people, they get fatigued, and like some people who get fatigued, they crack. And a piece flies off. But it's not a big deal, you just gotta go get another pair of plastic spoons. These are the ones I'm gonna use in this song. You wondered when we were gonna get to the song? We're almost there. This song, even though my dad was not Irish, this song was originally sung by Irish American, African American, Chinese American, Japanese American, Polish American, and a whole bunch of other American railroad workers. You've heard of the Irish potato famine, right? In the mid-1800s. When I was reading a book about it, the book said that the English have been trying to get rid of the Irish from Ireland for well over 200 years, with clearances and things like that. It happened in Scotland too. And then the potato famine came in, the blight that hit the potato crop. They're growing one kind of potato all across Ireland, and the blight just spread like wildfire, and there wasn't much food. And folks in Ireland had heard rumors that in this country, the streets were paved with gold. They weren't actually. They were mostly dirt, cobblestone. They also hadn't heard that there were all these signs around that said, no Irish need apply on different places. So when a lot of folks came over, they got, like I was just in, when I was in Billerica, there was a sign for a series about the canal builders, the Irish canal builders in Lowell and Lawrence. And they often, their work was involved a pick and a shovel. And in building railroads, they had a 16-pound sledgehammer. I have one at home. I have worked with it, but I would not want to work with it for 14 hours. And that's how long they would work. They'd be using the sledgehammers to put the spikes in to hold the tracks together out in the hot sun. And they made up a song as they sing. The first part of the song is the work song, the phrase. And then they added the rest later. It goes, I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day. Now that's how fast they would sing, because they didn't want to get tired. My dad at bedtime sang it faster than that because he wanted us to get tired. So we're going to sing it, you know the song, right? We're going to sing it the speed my dad sang it. I'm going to play the spoons, and you'll see how it goes. Ready? Here we go. I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day. I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away. Can't you hear the whistle blowing? Rise up so early in the morn. Can't you hear the captain shouting? you blow your horn? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn? Let's whisper. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Someone's in the kitchen, I know. Oh, oh, oh. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Oh. Strumming on the old banjo, a little bit faster. Singing fee-fi, fiddly-I-o. Fee-fi, fiddly-I-o. Oh, oh, oh. Fee-fi, fiddly-I-o. Strumming on the old banjo. That timing on the clock is perfect. Thank you. Thanks for saying along. And if you're learning how to play these at home, be patient. I'm learning how to play the ukulele. I figure at 66, I may as well learn something new. And I'm trying to be very patient with myself because I'm definitely not able to play fast enough for how fast I can sing. But I can play at lullaby speed, which is a cool speed actually. But if you're getting impatient, there are YouTube videos you can look up to get hints about it. But you can also take a pair of spoons and make a musical instrument. You take a rolled up piece of cardboard or a ball of clay or a little wedge of wood. You put them where I put my finger. Instead, you put that little wedge there, whatever you make it out of. And then you take duct tape. It's another great use for duct tape besides repairing cars. And you wrap the duct tape around the spoons. And now they make really cool colors like, they didn't have this type of duct tape when I was a kid. It was just either silver or black. There's rainbow colored duct tape. There's green for St. Patrick's Day. Whatever you want. You wrap it around, and then the tape and the wedge will hold them in the right place, and you make a musical instrument. Or you can just go to a music store and get one of these. So they're already stuck in plastic. They're a little harder to play. But they're pretty loud. They're cool. I have another musical instrument that originated in Scotland and Ireland. I gotta get him over here. This is a Limberjack. It's also a dog. Some kids ask me if he's a real dog, and I always say yes, because I don't want to hurt his feelings. And he is a real dog. He's a real wooden dog. They're cheaper, no vet bills, only eat sawdust. But he also dances. And the tradition, that came from a musical instrument that was called a jig doll. Buskers in Dublin or Edinburgh or Glasgow would be playing a fiddle or a squeeze box, a button accordion, concertina, and they would play and sing, but to get a rhythm, they would actually have a marionette puppet with the strings coming up to a pulley, and the pulley back to another pulley, and then the pulley back down to a pedal. And they would tap their foot on the pedal while they played and sang, and the strings would make the puppet dance on top of a platform that was hollow underneath. And the wooden feet would hit, and it would be like a drum accompaniment, a jig doll dancing a jig. And then they started making them in the shape of people with a stick stuck in the back only about this high, and then having a board so somebody could play along with them in a band. And then in this country, the Scots-Irish down in Appalachia started making them in the shape of animals, because kids like playing them at dances. Kids like animals, and when they have 4 legs, they make more noise. And you may have noticed that some kids and adults like things that make more noise. So, in order for him to dance, we got to wake him up. Oh, you may think he's awake because his eyes are open, but wooden dogs sleep with their eyes wide open. You can tell he's sleeping because he's on his back. So some people like to be woken up by really loud noises. People yelling in the room going, "Hey, you gotta wake up," or alarm clocks. He does not like that. He likes being woken up really gently. So on the count of 3, we're gonna whisper, "Bingo, please wake up." Because that's his name, Bingo, B-I-N-G-O. Okay, see, if I do it by myself, it doesn't work. He didn't wake up at all. So I need your help. On the count of 3, ready, here we go. 1, you know, whisper, he's like, here we go. 2, 3, "Bingo, please wake up." So wait, cool. So now all we need is a song for a All we need is a song for a dog named Bingo to dance to. You got any ideas? That one. It's about him. He loves that song. Oh, and have you ever done it that way where the first time through you spell his whole name like that, but then instead of singing the B you clap, right? and then 2 claps, then 3, then 4, then 5. If we do it that way, he'll do some really fancy dancing. He'll get very excited. Bingo, you got to get on the board to dance. Takes him a while to get situated. He looks ready. Either that or he's doing yoga. He does a real mean downward dog. Enough with the bad jokes. Let's hear him dance. Ready? Sing along. You'll hear him dance on the board. Ready? There was a farmer had a dog, and Bingo was his name. Oh, B-I-N-G-O, 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 and Bingo was his name. Oh, good. Take a break. Now this time through, we'll clap on the B. I'll sing the word clap because my hands are kind of occupied. But you guys clap with your hands. Ready? Here we go. There was a farmer had a dog, and Bingo was his name. Oh, I-N-G-O, 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 and Bingo was his name. 2 claps this time, give it a try. There was a farmer had a dog, Bingo was his name. Oh, N-G-O, 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 and Bingo was his name. 3 claps this time, here we go. There was a farmer had a dog, Bingo was his name. Oh, N-G-O, N-G-O, Bingo was his name. Oh. Wait, how many claps this time?
4.
Oh, good thing you're here. There was a farmer had a dog, and Bingo was his name. Oh, clap, 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 oh, clap, 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 oh, clap, 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 oh, and Bingo was his name. Oh, last time, 5 claps. Watch for fancy dance. He's so excited he can't stop. There was a farmer had a dog, and Bingo was his name. Oh, whoa! Bingo was his name. Oh. Oh, and when he's done, he usually likes to take a bow, and then he falls asleep. You know, he could use a nap. He's been to a lot of shows lately. You know, you could not get me to take a nap when I was a kid. My mom would send me up on Saturday morning with a book we got out of the library and my dad. And my dad would read to me for 20 minutes, and then my dad would fall asleep. And I would come downstairs. But at least my mom got 20 minutes, right? And then you know what I discovered in high school? Naps are good. I'll come home from high school, I had a lot of homework, a little stressful. My mom would say, take a 20-minute nap, I'll wake you up. So I would do that, and I have not stopped taking naps since. To make sure he takes a good nap, we're going to sing a lullaby my dad used to sing. I'm going to put him over here. I'd actually forgotten all about this song until I was putting this program together, and I was looking for some more Irish and Scottish songs. And nowadays it's really cool. If you want to find Irish and Scottish songs, you can go to a library and get CDs out, but you can also do things like at home, just Google Irish folk songs, and this website will come up with this list of titles highlighted. And if you think you know a title, or if the title looks intriguing, you can click on it and all the words come up. And if you know the words, or the tune, and maybe you know the chorus in one verse, but you're looking at all the other verses, you can learn the words. If you don't know the tune, there's no music there, but then you can go to YouTube and you type in the name of the title, right? And some band comes up who's singing the song, and now you got the words, you got the tune, you learn the song. So I was doing that kind of thing, and I was looking through this list of titles, and I saw, wait, I think I know this title. And I clicked on it, and all the words came up. I did not have to learn this song, except for the last verse. I had heard this song. I had never sung it before, but I had heard this song so many times when I was a kid. My dad singing it to me and my brothers. I knew the song. I knew the words. I knew the tune. Again, except for the last verse. And you may know the song too. It goes like this. In Dublin's fair city, where the girls are so pretty, it was there that I first met sweet Molly Malone. She wheeled her wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. And the chorus goes, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Now some people know it, and if you didn't know it before, now you do, because you've heard it once. And this is folk music again, so just hum along and get the words as many as you can, and don't worry about it too hard. Let's sing the chorus again. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. She was a fishmonger, and sure 'twas no wonder, 'cause so were her mother and father before. They wheeled their wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Now the chorus. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Now here's the verse I had to learn, and you'll probably guess why my dad didn't sing it at bedtime. She died of a fever, and no one could save her, and that was the end of my Molly Malone. Now her ghost wheels the barrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Last time. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Nice singing, thank you. And I could get scared from Lassie when I was watching it when I was a kid. The only night I didn't go to bed at 7:30 was Sunday when we watched The Wonderful World of Color, which was on from 7 to 8, I think. And then Lassie was on before that. And Lassie was trapped in a burning building one time. I had nightmares for weeks. So imagine what a ghost story could do to me at bedtime. My dad left that part out. But I wish I'd known this Irish folklore about getting rid of bad dreams when I was a kid. I found it in a book. And if you ever see something that you think might give you bad dreams, or even if you don't, but you just want to be on the safe side, you can take, I hope you take your shoes off before you go to bed anyway. So when you take them off, put them at the foot of your bed. Now if your bed sticks out into the room, just put them in the foot. If it's up at the end of it's against the wall, you have to climb under the bed, but you can do it. And you take the shoes, and instead of putting them like you were wearing them, you put them as if your feet were crossed. So the left one's on the right one's on the left. And you just stick them there at the end of your bed or underneath. And like a dream catcher, the bad dreams will come and they'll get so confused by these shoes being in the wrong place that they go into the shoes to figure out what's going on and they disappear. So, money back guarantee, that'll work. I got another quick song for you, and I get to play spoons again, because this is a spoon playing song. In Ireland, if you were a fiddler during the potato famine, you were in luck because you could sell your fiddle and get enough money to buy a ticket to come over to New York or Boston, maybe even down south, sometimes down to Argentina, and then you'd get enough money to come up in the United States. And if you were a fiddler, you would stick a pair of spoons in your back pocket, your favorite spoons. And on board ship, you'd be pretty popular because even though you'd sold your fiddle, you still knew all the fiddle tunes. So if the day was kind of calm and the ship wasn't rocking back and forth too much, you could have a dance on deck. And you'd sing the fiddle tunes. It's called mouth music. You go and you play the spoons along, accompany yourself. You go, and folks would dance on board deck. Now this next song is actually a fiddle tune. Somebody got tired of going and they put words to it. Now, I learned it from a friend of mine, Roger Tinknell, who said that this is an Irish song, but as I was doing research about it, I noticed that every Scottish band who sings this song says it's a Scottish song. Every Irish band who sings this song says it's an Irish song. So if you're Irish, you can claim it. If you're Scottish, you can claim it. If you're neither, you can decide which you want to be. Me, I don't know which it is, so I just sing it. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, so I'm going to teach it to you slowly and safely. We don't want to go, I've learned as I've gotten older that it's better to go faster, slower. The chorus goes like this. We'll do it call and response style. I'll sing a line, then you'll sing a line together with me, and that's how we'll learn it. There's four lines, okay? Mary Mac's mother making Mary Mac marry me. Try that part. Mary Mac's mother making Mary Mac marry me. Good. The next line is my mother's making me Mary Mac. My mother's making me Mary Mac. This is the hardest line, plus it gives you a hint of how old this song is. So I'll have to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. So I'll have to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. We'll all be making merry when I marry Mary Mac. We'll all be making merry when I marry Mary Mac. Good. Now, there are four verses, and after each verse, we're going to sing that chorus. The first time, after the first verse, we'll do it just the way we did it right now. We'll do it call and response, but just a wee bit faster as you're getting used to it. Then I'll sing the second verse, and then we'll sing it again, call and response, but a wee bit faster. And then I'll sing the third verse. By then, you'll be ready to graduate to singing it straight through. But not real fast. Still faster than we've been doing it. And then I'll do the fourth verse, and we'll do it a wee bit faster, straight through. There is no fifth verse, but we will sing the chorus a fifth time to give you the opportunity of going full speed. And at any point in the process, it is a tongue twister. So if your tongue starts to get tangled around your teeth, you can just go like this. There's a lot of M's in the chorus. You'll be right a good percentage of the time. All right, here's the first verse. There's a right wee lass, and her name it is Mary Mac. Make no mistake, she's the one I'm going to take. A lot of the fellas want to get up on her track, but if they do, they're going to have to get up early. Now, we're not going to go anywhere near that fast. Safe, slow speed. I'll sing a line. You sing a line afterwards. If you want to practice each line twice and sing it with me too at the beginning, don't worry about it. That's fine. Ready? Mary Mac's mother making Mary Mac marry me. Mary Mac's mother making Mary Mac marry me. My mother's making me Mary, Mary Mac. My mother's making me Mary, Mary Mac. So I'll have to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. So I'll have to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. We'll all be making merry when I marry Mary Mac. We'll all be making merry when I marry Mary Mac. Great. Good job. Next time, a little bit faster. Still call and response though. Second verse. Now, Mary and her mother go an awful lot together. In fact, you hardly ever see the one without the other. Folks often wonder whether it's Mary or her mother, or both of them together that I'm courting. No, not that fast, but still faster. You can do it. I have faith in you. Mary Mac's mother making Mary Mac marry me. Mary Mac's mother making Mary Mac marry me. My mother's making me Mary, Mary Mac. My mother's making me Mary, Mary Mac. So I'll have to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. That is the hardest line. So I'll have to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. We'll all be making merry when I marry Mary Mac. We'll all be making merry when I marry Mary Mac. Good. You guys are doing very well. I think you're ready to go straight through next time. You can. I know you can. Third verse. The wedding is on Wednesday and everything's arranged. Her name will soon be changed to mine unless her mind be changed. Making the arrangements. I'm just about arranged. For marriage is an awful undertaking. Now, not that fast, but still pretty fast. I think you can do it. Ready? Here we go. Mary Mac's mother making Mary Mac marry me. My mother's making me Mary, Mary Mac. I'll have to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. We'll all be making merry when I marry Mary Mac. Ooh, you guys are good. All right, last verse. It's sure to be a grand affair, and grander than a fair. There's gonna be a coaching pair for every pair that's there. We'll dine upon the finest fare. I'm sure to get my share. And if I don't, then I'm very much mistaken. Now, not that fast, but the fastest we've done yet. You can do it. Here we go. Ready? Mary Mac's mother making Mary Mac marry me, and my mother's making me Mary, Mary Mac. I'll have to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. We'll all be making merry when I marry Mary Mac. I see you've discovered the secret of going faster. Getting quieter. Yeah, because some of us have discovered if you try to be too loud, too fast, the words trip over your teeth and they fall on the floor. That's not the point. In fact, for this next time, when we go full speed, you can get so quiet, I won't even hear you. I'll know you're doing it because your mouths are moving, and it'll be fine. Ready? You can do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mary Mac's mother making Mary Mac marry me. My mother's making me Mary, Mary Mac. I'll have to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. We'll all be making merry when I marry Mary Mac. Good job. Good job. Now, it's really funny because That song, you know, it's a fast song, but you can turn that song into a lullaby. All you got to do is go slow. I discovered that with my niece. I knew all these traditional Irish and Scottish songs, and when my niece was born, I didn't have any kids, so my brother and his wife said, we'd like to go out, why don't you come to the house? And I love kids. So I would come and I would sit, and sometimes she did not want to go to sleep. So we would walk, and walk, and walk, and I'd sing at the same speed I was walking, very slowly. And when my dad passed away, he passed away 6 years ago. You know the song Molly Malone we sang earlier? Every time I sing that, it's like he's with me again. And I sang to him for 3 hours the night before he passed away. You know, and he was holding on to my fingers, and every time I'd sing a song he especially liked, and I sang them all slow, even if they were fast songs. Every time I sang a song he particularly liked, he wasn't talking much at that point, but he would squeeze my fingers, you know. And when folks came to this country from Ireland or Scotland, there are people moving right now who can't take very much with them. But they can always take their songs and their stories. The woman from Tipperary said, you know, I haven't been back to Ireland, but you made me feel like I went back there. You know, we sing songs that bring us back to places we love. This song also came from an Irish tradition, but not exactly from Ireland. If you didn't have a fiddle to sell to get a ticket, sometimes you would actually hire out on a ship to be part of the crew coming over to America from Ireland, maybe to New York or Boston. And if you could swim, when you got to Boston Harbor or New York Harbor, you'd jump over the side and swim to shore. And that's how you get to this country. I talked to this man whose great-grandfather came over from Italy in the late 1890s. From Naples, Italy, that's what he did. He hired on board a ship. He came over into New York Harbor. When he got to New York Harbor, he jumped overboard, swam to Staten Island. And ever since then, this man's family had lived on Long Island. And sometimes, though, if you were on board ship, maybe you couldn't swim, so you didn't want to swim to shore because you wouldn't get there. Or you really liked the crew you were on. You liked the captain. Even though it was a rough life, you liked being out at sea, so you'd stay out at sea. And there was this tradition of singing work songs out on the ocean, sea shanties they're called. And some of them have Irish roots. You'd pull on the beat of a song, hauling up the sail. Sometimes you'd pull twice per measure. Sometimes you'd pull only at the end of each line, depending on how heavy it was, how many people were working. It was all adaptable, and you'd make up new lyrics. And this song has a chorus that we're going to sing together. The chorus is the same both times. I'm going to sing a line. We'll all sing the chorus, which I'll teach you, don't worry. And then I'll sing another line, and we'll all sing the chorus, which is, again, exactly the same. You only have to learn one line. It goes like this. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. That's it, right? And we'll give a little emphasis to the word Joe so we can pretend to be working. For those of you who have not learned how to pretend to work, it's a really good skill. I'm getting really good at it. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll do that line and a little emphasis on the word Joe. Okay, here we go. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. You got it. Now, every time we're going to do that line, I'll raise my arm up like this, so you'll know what to do. I'll also sing it with you so we won't get lost. Once I lived in Ireland a-digging dirt and potatoes. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Now I'm on a Yankee ship a-hauling sheets and braces. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Once I knew a Yankee girl, she nearly drove me crazy. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Now I know an Irish girl, she really drives me crazy. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. King Louis was the king of France before the Revolution. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. But then he got his head cut off, which spoiled his constitution. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Way haul away, we'll haul away together. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Better weather. Way haul away, we'll haul for better weather. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Good singer. Thank you. Now, my dad worked on a fishing boat up in Maine when he was in high school and early college. And my grandparents retired up there. Actually, my grandfather never really retired. He was a salesman, and he just sold less things over less of an area, which meant he had more free time. And in his free time, he bought a lobster boat. Not because he was going lobstering. But he liked noodling around on the islands, and lobster boats are pretty stable, you know. Plus, at that point, lobstering was pretty tough, so they were pretty cheap. And he moored his boat right in the middle of New Harbor. Beautiful little harbor if you've never been there. Right in the middle. And one thing he liked to do was to make a lunch sandwich, apple, banana, a couple bottles of soda pop. My dad called it tonic. My grandfather called it soda pop. But I called it soda. You know, it's all the same. And he would row out to the boat, and he'd tie up his rowboat, and then he'd take his lunch, he'd get out, and get in the back of the boat, and he would take a lawn chair that he kept for just this purpose, unfold it, put it in the stern of the boat, and then he would sit and eat his lunch and watch everybody else work. Which is fun to do. And when we came up, us kids and my parents, sometimes we'd go out for picnics onto the islands. We wouldn't go for a picnic in the middle of the harbor. That's not to keep a bunch of kids interested. And there was one island we always loved going to called Seal Island. Seal Island was only an island at low tide. High tide, totally underwater. Low tide, the rocks, the seaweed would come out, and the seals would be basking on the rocks, and they'd be swimming around the island because of the way the tide worked there, coming in and out, and the fact it was underwater at high tide meant there were a lot of fish there, and with a lot of fish there, the seals had a lot to eat. So they'd be swimming around and fishing, and we would go out, we'd anchor the boat, and we'd get all our picnic stuff, and we'd watch them. And they would watch us. They'd actually swim over to the boat. And you know, ever seen seals do this where they get vertical in the water and they use their fins to keep themselves stable and they're bobbing up and down with the waves and they stretch their necks up like they're thinking and looking, their eyes just look at you like, who are these people and what are they doing? And there was something in those seals' eyes that later on when I found these stories of Celkies, the stories off the coast of Ireland and Scotland, they made sense to me. There's this great book called The People of the Sea, and if the library doesn't have it, the great thing about interlibrary loan these days is you can find that book, you know, and get it through interlibrary loan. It has all these stories about silkies. This man collected these stories. He'd go to different places, describe, each chapter was a different place. Describe the place, and then who told the story, and then the story itself. And I found this story. It's very short before I do the last song. And it was about a woman and her son and her husband. They lived right near the water, outside of the village. They had a croft with a sort of thatch roof, and it had lines strung over it, crisscrossed, and with rocks attached, hanging down from the roof. Because if the wind blew too hard out of the north, it would take the roof off if you didn't weigh it down. And her husband was off hunting. He was a seal hunter. He'd hunt them not on the water, he'd hunt them along the shore. He had this big hunting knife, and he'd look for seals, try and sneak up on them, stab them, and he'd throw them, when he got them, he'd throw them over his shoulder, bring them back, he'd skin them, and they'd use the skin to make clothes and shoes, and they'd use the meat. It was a little bit fishy, but it fed you, and they'd use the fat to make candles, and they'd use the bones to make some tools. Everything they didn't use, they'd bury in the garden to make the soil better, because the soil was horrible. He was off hunting, and one of the things they did also to make the soil better, they grew in raised beds, turnips, kale, things like that. Well, onions, they would go down, and potatoes, they would go down and get seaweed in the fall. When all the crops were pulled in, they'd get a lot of seaweed, kelp, different seaweed, in these big wheelbarrows. They'd bring it on up, and then they'd spread it 6 inches to a foot high, depending on how much seaweed they gathered before the winter. And they just leave it on all winter, and then they dig it in the spring. So this is a thing that her son loved to help her with because he liked getting all seaweedy. He was just starting to walk. You know how it is when kids start to walk and they basically balance from foot to foot? They don't go anywhere. And then they say, I really want to go forward. And they're thinking so hard about going forward, they start moving backwards. And say, that's not the way I want them to go. And then they finally lean forward and then they fall on their butt. But luckily they're padded. there, so they just laugh and they get up again, and that's what he was doing, and she was laughing, practicing. He had seaweed on his head, walking back and forth, and she was spreading the seaweed, and she thought, wait, I was supposed to punch down the bread, and she ran inside. It was safe for him to be outside by himself, because their yard had this big fence all the way around it. It was like a giant playpen, with one gate that led to the path to town, and one gate that led to the path to shore, and both gates were latched. He'd never opened them before. And so she went inside, she punched down the bread and then put the bowl in the warm place, and then, oh, I was going to fold those sheets. So she folded a few sheets, so there was another chore, and she said, wait, I was going to spread the seaweed. And she went back outside, and she couldn't see her son anywhere. And then she looked, and she saw the gate that led to the path down to the shore was open. So she ran to the gate, and she looked. There was a little bit of mud just outside the gate, and there in the mud was the footprint of her son's bare foot, headed towards the shore. So she ran down the path towards the shore, and when she got to the sand, she saw his footprints in the sand getting closer and closer to the water, and then the waves were coming up and washing the footprints away, and she couldn't see her son anywhere. And she just knelt down in the sand and she cried. She cried so hard. She knew how to cry. And now she had a real reason to cry. And she cried so hard that she needed more breath so she could cry some more after that. And so she stopped crying to take in a big, deep breath, tears streaming down her cheek. And when she stopped making noise, she still heard some noise. It was coming from beyond the beach. At the end of this beach, there was a pile of rocks. And over those rocks, there was a small cove with a little crescent beach. And the crying, it was like her crying, seemed to be coming from there. She walked over, tears on her face, and climbed up those rocks and got to the top and looked down in that cove, and there on the beach was a mother seal and two twin seal pups, and playing with those seal pups was her son. And she ran down those rocks, ran across the beach. She picked up her son. She held him real tight, not too tight, but just tight enough so he knew how happy she was to see him. And then she looked down at the mother seal and she said, oh, thank you very much. And the seal just looked up at her and gave one of those barks that seals do, you know, and slipped off into the water. And the two twin pups followed, and they swam out to sea. Well, the mother took her son home, brought him into the yard and set him down, latched that gate real tight, kept her eye on him while the two of them spread seaweed, and then she went inside to make the bread and make dinner. And when her husband came home, he hadn't gotten anything that day, and when he hadn't gotten anything, his hunting knife was clean, so he'd use it at dinner. He put it next to his plate, and they had supper, and while they were eating, his wife told him what had happened that day. And when she got to the end of the story, he looked at his son sitting there. He looked at his knife. And then he looked at her. And he pushed his chair back. And he picked up that knife. And he went over to a drawer. He opened the drawer and he put the knife in, closed the drawer. And he never used that knife again. He never hunted another seal. That's a story from Scotland. Thank you. Now I got one last song and then an Irish blessing for you, but I just learned, I love this blessing, and some of you may, there's different versions of it. I found at least 6 different versions. So of course I learned the first one I found. But this song comes from Scotland, and I don't know if you've been outside in the early morning with the birds singing. I was actually shoveling snow. Now, I'm self-employed, so I don't have to go anywhere sometimes. And so I'll wait till the snow's all over and it's sunny and go out and shovel. And I was shoveling snow, and the birds were singing. I realized, they're not singing a snow song. They're singing their spring songs already, and this song refers to that. I bet you know the song goes. For the summertime is coming, and the birds are sweetly singing, and the wild mountain thyme blooms around the purple heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the purple heather. Will you go, lassie, go? Now that's the chorus. You've heard it once. You can sing it, it's okay. However you sing it is fine. And definitely Will You Go, Lassie Go. That comes along a lot. So let's try that chorus together. And we'll all go together to pull Wild Mountain Thyme all around the purple heather. Will you go, lassie, go? I will build my love a bower by yon clear crystal fountain, and in it I will pile all the flowers from the mountain. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pull Wild Mountain Thyme all around the purple heather. Will you go, lassie, go? If my true love will not go, well, I'll surely find another to pull Wild Mountain Thyme all around the purple heather. Will you go, lassie, go? Last time. And we'll all go together to pull Wild Mountain Thyme all around the purple heather. Will you go, lassie, go? May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rain fall gentle on your garden. And until we meet again, may you be at peace. Thanks, everybody. I want to thank the library for having me back again. I want to say a special thanks to the Southbridge Cultural Council for funding my visit. They do a lot of great things in town. This is just one of them. They're funded by the Mass Cultural Council. Have a great rest of your St. Patrick's Day, the hours that are left, and have a wonderful spring. Thank you.